Thursday night means football, and we are here to talk just that.
Yeah, we are. So, do you want to just kick off with the NFL stuff?
Yeah, let's jump into that first. So, just to greet everyone joining us here, week's goal line report, WGLR, episode 13
Yeah,
is here. And we are right in the middle of training camps and preseason and all that fun now. So
yeah,
there's plenty to talk about, and unfortunately, quite a few injuries and things like that. But we'll talk about some of what's going around in training camps and also some of the other football that's being played across the world. Uh,
yeah,
Europe had some playoff games.
yeah. In the EFA.
Yeah, in Canadian Football League, they're about right towards the midway season now, or point of the
Yeah,
season now,
they
right?
just dropped their mid-season team grades on TSN. I did
Okay,
watch that.
okay, yeah. So definitely a few things we'll talk about. But let's start with the NFL.
Yep.
So teams are in practice, and so traditionally, like you have like you come together as a team in the off season and you have your practices, you're working towards, establishing the team, then you have a few preseason games. But practice, it's kind of a challenge because like you want to go like hard enough that you are improving, but you also like you don't want to injure your own teammates, right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of a hard balance to find sometimes because you're going to sacrifice that intensity, or if or someone's going to get hurt.
yeah. So, there's been a lot of joint practices in the league recently, and I think there's been a lot to talk about with them, but I think the one we really wanted to talk about today was the New Orleans Saints and Dallas Cowboys joint practice.
Yeah, that
So,
that one seemed like it got a little extra heated there today. Was it today
it was
or yesterday?
it was a few days ago, I think, maybe two, but around like this week, obviously, the Saints and Cowboys had a joint practice. Per usual, teams sometimes have joint practices. Um, the Saints and Cowboys, they just couldn't really. I don't know. I guess they don't like each other that much heading into next year because they had 5 fights in that joint practice.
Yeah, I think in recent years, like as teams have started to do this, it's not uncommon to hear about a fight, but I think this is the first time that I've heard of that many.
Yeah, there might have been a practice this week where some team had a fight, but definitely not 5. I haven't heard that either. So it's definitely a little disappointing. Each team, like both teams, did get stacked with $500,000 fines, which is kind of reasonable. You don't want to have a fight usually, and having five, that is just ludicrous. So I do believe the NFL made the right call in just fining them that much, because you should have, you know, like the integrity of the game. Fights, they're not supposed to be common. They're they can happen sometimes, but you try and steer clear of that. And when it does happen, it messes everything up. And having five, that just seems like it got a lot more heated than it should have.
Yeah, it definitely did. So I guess the question then is, should teams continue to have these shared practices?
Personally, I don't like them very much, but I do understand that, when you practice with your team, it makes like it works sometimes, but not all the time. So doing it with another team can help bring you kind of more into realistic how you go against them and maybe other teams. And I'm like it's good in my opinion to do them, but it doesn't look like it's going that well. It doesn't look like it's been working very much, and it's been a little disappointing, I'd say. It doesn't seem like they're really. doing what they think they're gonna do.
So I think there's a few things about it. One is other than signings and injuries, there's not a lot to talk about. So I think these make headlines that sound bigger than they really are sometimes.
Yeah,
So I think that's part of it. For me, I think they should continue the joint practices.
yeah,
I think that you should draw the line. There, when it turns into a fight or a scuffle, it needs to be broken up. It needs to be handled, and from the coaching and leadership standpoint, you need to have deterrence in place for the players to keep their heads on their shoulders. But I think it's good for the teams, and the reason that I think that is one, you practicing harder makes you better.
yeah,
So it pushes you to be a better version of yourself. So I think that's what we get with the players. You have, and one of the reasons it's so intense is, you know, you might have out of say there's 50 roster spots, you might have 45 locked down, but there's still maybe 15 guys competing for those last five spots, and they're not about to let up. They're not about to uh,
cool
not
down.
put everything on the line. So
Yeah,
when you have two teams and those players really pushing, you know, to earn their shot, like it's gonna be intense. I think another thing with that too is it unites the team. Like if you have an opponent, then that brings you closer together, a shared goal, a common enemy. Like if someone's taking liberties with your teammate, like that's going to fire you up. You're going to stand up for your teammate, and then your teammate's going to know you have their back. They're going to have your back. Like it solidifies the teams that are willing to fight for each other.
yeah,
I think that those are two things you get out of it. I also think, and this is more common in hockey in NHL, um,
yeah,
when you have scuffles and fights and things like that, it a lot of times it inspires the team. Like it boosts their energy and and you have like a lot of times you'll see positive results from that where that conflict like makes them better.
yeah. I do think that it sometimes works to your advantage, and I really do think the NHL made that a thing. And we love the NHL. We watch the NHL sometimes,
Hmm.
but it's not a football thing. It's not a football thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be the fighting.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
fun. It's fun when it does happen though,
so
because it's so rare.
so I'm for shared practices, but you got to control your players.
Yeah. So I do think that wrapped up that little segment. We just wanted to speak our mind on that little controversy. So you want to move over to the EFA?
Yeah, yeah, let's talk. And that's playoff time, right?
Yeah. So the EFA wrapped up their schedule and their regular season. So it was nice. Um. We got to the playoffs. So the two teams that were eliminated were the Raiders of Tyrol, who finished like they had 2 wins,
Hmm.
which they got 2 wins in the last 3 weeks. They were horrible all season really. And the other team that missed it was the Prague Lions. They looked decent, but they couldn't really do much.
Were they the team that had a lot of close losses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
those are the two on the outside.
so then the four teams that made the playoffs. So the number one seed, I do believe, the seeds don't really matter. There was basically no difference between the top two and the bottom, and the bottom ones. They were kind of pairs. So the Munich Ravens, my team, beat the Frankfurt Galaxy 52 to 33. So that was a good game in my opinion for us.
Hmm.
We had the loss in the final week of the regular season against Nordic. We put our backups in. We got our butt kicked, and it's really disappointing that we like try and do that when we could have had a regular season like 10 wins, undefeated. I do understand it, like trying to keep everyone ready, but the Frankfurt Galaxy, I don't think they were much of a threat. Munich, they finished 9-1. Frankfurt finished 4-6. I don't see them as much of a threat. I mean, they were more of a threat than I thought they would be. 52 to 33, they put up 33 points on like the defense.
Yeah.
Like we had
So
one of the best defenses in the regular season.
yeah. So the way the regular season finished, there were two clearly good teams, and
Yeah,
then four teams that were below average.
they were
Uh,
around each other. They were all pretty equally skilled.
they were around each other, but several levels below the top two
Yeah,
teams.
very,
You
very
know,
different.
tiers, levels, whatever you want to say. They were not anywhere close to those top two teams. So this first round, it was kind of expected. Munich got it done. I think you're right. It's a little concerning that they gave that much up to Frankfurt because
Yeah,
that wasn't like their defense was better most of the season, and
yeah.
Frankfurt's offense wasn't that good most of the season. So that's kind of concerning that they kept it that close there.
Frankfurt, I'll say, from what I've seen of Frankfurt, it's been weird. Some weeks they're getting touchdown after touchdown, and some weeks they it doesn't look like they know how to score a touchdown at all. But anyway, moving on to the second semifinal game, the Nordic Storm fought the Paris Musketeers. So Nordic, and I'm saying this as a Munich fan, Nordic has a better defense. Nordic does. They keep everyone very just low. They keep everyone low scoring and they just rack up points. And that's what happened in the semifinal game. They beat the Musketeers 45-6. So I do know you are rooting for the Musketeers. And honestly, as a Munich fan, I've come to realize that the Storm is like just as good as us, maybe better. I'm not going to admit that though, but I would have loved if the Musketeers made it.
Yeah, so this is one that we thought was going to be on the lower scoring end between the two games. Like you said, Nordic has really established themselves, and then Paris, like the one thing that they were kind of known for is having one of the better defenses. So Nordic got it done. Like it was a
Yeah,
very one-sided game. They cruised to victory. Uh, Paris, even though their offense couldn't do anything, their defense did not show up either.
yeah,
And so, where I thought they might be able to keep Nordic to 30 points or under 30, definitely did not happen. So,
yeah.
Nordic is looking very dangerous right now. The fact that they put up 45 against one of the better defenses, and like you said, their defense completely shut down Paris.
in
So,
in a way that Nordic did not shut down Frankfurt. And
the
I've
way
said
Munich
this,
didn't.
yeah, I've said this multiple times. You look at the records, Frankfurt and Paris, they were basically even, 4-6 for both of them.
Mhm.
But I have said all season long basically that Paris is better than Frankfurt, and we didn't see that. We
No.
didn't see that. And maybe it was the defense. Maybe there's some issues on offense. I've been a Paris believer. The first game I watched was Frankfurt versus Paris, where Paris won. And I was really excited to see what Paris could do. And, they were, well, lackluster. Like I said with Frankfurt, I put them in the same boat. Some weeks they were really good, some weeks they didn't know what they were doing. But so that gets us to the EFA championship game. And they do not have a name for the championship or the trophy or anything. It's called the EFA championship game. So it's a weird name. But just anyway, so that brings us to the championship game. Like I just said, the EFA Championship game, that's the name. And we're going to see Munich and Nordic fighting, and I think Frankfurt. I think that's where it'll be held. So who do you have this? I know you haven't watched much of the league, but, from these scores, you can get a pretty good guess on how the offenses are and the defenses are.
Yeah, so this is the championship game we knew was going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, it would have been a monumental upset for anyone else to be there, and they got it done. There wasn't a lot of suspense. So these are the best two teams. They
yeah.
split the series, but like you said last time, Munich had their backups in, so it's really hard to tell, you know,
And
from that.
in the first game, these guys fought. Nordic won by like less than 3 points. It was probably one of the best games in like European football history.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop watching. It was a
So,
great game.
so yeah, that's what that would imply. For me, looking at last week, so based on those results, it looks like Nordic is the team that's playing better right now. And so, with that in consideration, that's who I have to go with.
All right, well, I'm still going Munich. I do believe in my team, and honestly, it'd be weird if I didn't. I think they have some great guys on offense and some stellar guys on defense. There's a lot that definitely could be fixed, but I think this team in general is better than Nordic Storm. So I think we will see them be crowned champion. And honestly, I would be shocked if this game wasn't well within 5 points. I I don't think it'd be crazy to say this game goes to overtime. It really was a great game. Like the first time these guys fought, and I would be shocked if someone had like a 45-3 win. Like
Yeah, I think,
there's no world where I see anybody get a blowout, a shutout, nothing like that. I think this is gonna be a close game.
yeah, I think that both of these teams have good offenses, and so I think that they're both gonna be above, 30, putting up
I,
points.
I don't think anyone, like I said earlier, these guys have like the top two defenses. I don't see anybody getting above 40 points. I don't know if I see anybody making 40 points. I think we see around 30 points, like maybe 35-32 as the final score. But I'm excited for this game. It's pretty soon, and it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, it's gonna really prove who the better team is, because
Yeah,
right now it's not established. Like they've both shown that they have
have what it takes. They definitely do.
that they have an argument for that case, but this is gonna prove who it is.
Yeah.
So we'll know once and for all. So yeah, so that's something really to look forward to. Is that going to be on Saturday or Sunday, or do you know when that's supposed to be?
I don't know when it is, but it's gonna be in like the next coming week. It's supposed to be pretty soon. They took like 2 weeks off or like a week off just to give it a little bit of a gap,
Hmm.
kind of build suspense or something. Um, I think that really wraps it up for the EFA though.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on from there. We'll find out who wins the championship, and we can comment on that. I think the other league that we have been following is the Canadian
CFL.
Football League, CFL,
Yeah.
and we had another week there.
Yeah, so the CFL, we were kind of behind on this, and there's actually a game going on right now. Um, but week 11, so we had Lion Stamps as the best. We had game of the week for Lion Stamps. Do you think do you think we were wrong?
No.
Yep, I don't think we were either. Lions pulled off a close one, 30-26. So with this, the Lions move up to fourth place in the West, and Stamps go down to fifth. So Lions, they have like 4 wins now. Stampeders have four too. Um, but the Lions are ahead of them now, and Stampeders now know what it's like to be in the bottom of the West.
Yeah, this is like three straight wins now. Is that right?
Yeah, for the Lions. So that was a good game in my opinion. The second game, um, not really much to speak of. The Blue Bombers won 33-21 against the Red Blacks, and we've been watching the season. I still think the Blue Bombers are frauds. But the Red Blacks, they have shown exactly what they are. I don't think there's a world where they make the playoffs anymore. They're sitting at an 0-9 record, and with the game live, they're going to be 0-10 in like half an hour. So there is nothing really to say, I think, about the Red Blacks. They have potential to win some games, but it's just been bad all year.
It has. Yeah.
So
So
then the third game, so that one was close. The third game, I don't think close was in the question. The Elks won that game against the Argonauts 42-12. So we saw what the Elks were like before this, like starting the season, like 6-1. They dropped two straight.
yeah.
As an Elks fan, that was very disappointing. That was like it was just bad. It was just sad for me to watch those and be so hyped just to see us get like especially the Alouettes game.
Yeah, the Alouettes one was, highly anticipated, two of the best teams in the league, and to lose that one, that was a disappointing loss.
Especially by 18. But the Elks, they're back on track now. And I'm trying to not put bias into like what I'm saying, but as an Elks fan, I'm glad to see them like getting back on track, and I'm excited to see what they can do next. The Argonauts, I've said this before, they are the most mid team in the league. If I would remember 8 teams in the CFL, I'd probably forget the Argonauts, honestly. Like they have this rich history of like the most Grey Cups, but recently they've been floating around.
Yeah, as it stands right now, this isn't their year. They just
Yeah.
haven't been consistent. Like they've won some games that were impressive, but then they've also struggled when you think that they're just starting to look good. All of a sudden, it seems to fall apart underneath them, and so they just have not shown any type of consistency.
Yeah, so then the game that we ended that, we both had the Rough Riders winning this. We said it was going to be clear and easy, and the Rough Riders lost to the Tiger Cats.
Y-
It's just odd. I'm also a Tiger Cats fan. That was the first team I picked. I picked them with the Elks, and when our quarterback went down, Mitchell, I was like, yeah, we lost every game from now on. We were terrible, but we just beat the Saskatchewan Rough Riders,
Yeah,
26-19.
it shows you that, any given game, you know, you think you know what's going to happen, and you still have to show up and do it because I was thinking the Tiger Cats were the second worst team in the league.
I thought that too. So that was a big shocker, and they moved up a bit, but that really closed off week 11. And week 12, it's starting right now. So the Red Blacks are at the Alouettes, and they're getting like just destroyed 22-7. So I think it's safe to say who our prediction is to win this.
Right, yeah, don't
It's
have to go out on a limb.
it's not really a prediction per se, but it's basically just forecasting or
Yeah,
whatever.
you can pretty much lock it in, barring a huge comeback. The Alouettes have this one in the bag.
Yeah, I have Red Black. I'm kidding. I have Alouettes, obviously. So the second game, Blue Bombers Elks. So that's tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, obviously. So the Blue Bombers and Elks are fighting. I still have Blue Bombers as frauds, and I have Elks as the winner of this game. I think it'll be like 30-17, around that score. I think the Elks get this one done. What about you?
Yeah, I think especially the way they won last week.
It's at
I
Edmonton
think
too.
they should have this one well in hand. And I think you're right. The Blue Bombers, they're pretty mid too, similar to how the Argonauts are.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, they probably put up about 20 points, but just not enough offense, not enough defense, and the Elks show they're the better team.
Yeah, and we do game of the week, but I think it might be time to just do worst game of the week because the next game is the Tiger Cats and Argonauts. And this game is going to be so incredibly bad that the CFL might lose fans just from these teams. This is the Ontario rivalry, two of the best teams in CFL history facing off like they've always been rich in history, but these two teams suck right now. Like plain, they suck. They both suck. And this game, they're mid really. I like they both have like 4 wins right now. They both have losing records. This game is gonna suck. Like just plain and simple, it's gonna be bad. And you can quote me on that. I might be 100% wrong. This might be the best game ever played, but I really doubt it. This
Y-
game. will most likely suck.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not going to be the best game ever played. The only thing that might keep it at least mildly interesting is that they're probably on a similar level.
Yeah, so
So,
I do think that two teams per division at least make the playoffs. So with this like cross thing, like last year, like I think Winnipeg moved over to the East because there wasn't enough East teams compared to the West, and that could easily happen this year, honestly, because the entire East, other than the Alouettes, have losing records. Basically, everyone in the West has a winning record, or basically does. This game, it basically really sees who's making the playoffs, who's going to be that second guy in the East,
yeah, I mean
because it's
it's
definitely not Ottawa,
right, yeah.
definitely not Ottawa.
And it's looked like it was going to be Toronto, but with the way they lost last week, and then all of a sudden, you know,
Hamilton got that big win.
Hamilton gets the surprise victory, and now they have a chance to build on that and win another one. So things could very quickly shift between the two teams and where they stand in the division.
I think for this game though, I have the Tiger Cats. I do think the Tiger Cats get this win. Now, do I think they get many after this? No. I don't think they get much after this. But they're gonna beat the Argonauts, I think. Like what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I think the Argonauts win.
No. Well, honestly, it's really 50-50. Like both these guys, they're just mid. I we could see a decent game or we could see a really bad game. It's really either way for that as well. Will I be shocked by the result? Definitely not. Either of these guys will win. It's gonna be a decent game, maybe at the best. But I
Hmm.
think the Tigercats get it done. You think Argonauts? I think we've been aligning well so far. But that was the first real kind of one right there. But for
That
the last game, Saskatchewan and uh BC. So you've been riding like the Lions have been riding the hype. Rourke came back, got them that win. That was big. That was a big win for them to get back in this playoff picture. And the Rough Riders, they were looking like the best team in the league for a while, and they've just been having these bad losses, these really bad losses. And honestly, for this game, I think I'm gonna take the Lions. I think the Lions get it done it at home. I think they beat the Rough Riders. I think it's gonna be a big shock to a lot of people, but I think they do it.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of momentum. With their winning streak. The offense has been, putting up points, looking good. And then the Rough Riders, like you said, they got off to a good start, but that uh, loss last week is a big blow, and so I think this is really going to test their resolve and how what they're really made of.
Yeah.
If you're a good team, you bounce back, you show up, and you go dominate this game. If there's cracks, if there are concerns like that are legitimate, then they're gonna manifest this week, and the team that should be responding would continue to struggle. So I think this will tell us a lot about exactly where they are. Because a loss here, all of a sudden, like you've got Winnipeg and BC, right on your heels now.
And Calgary. Calgary is still in this.
Yeah, before it looked like a two-team race, and a loss here really changes that.
So moving over to the standings. So in the East Division with the four teams, the Alouettes head and shoulders above the rest of the teams in the division at 8-1 with the best record in the league, with their only loss coming to Edmonton. In one of the first weeks, they lost that game by 3 points. So they've been in every single game.
Yeah.
So they're 5-0 at home as well. So that's pretty good. And then moving over to the Argonauts, they're in second in the East at 4-5. So the weird thing I'm seeing right now is they've had one home game. One home game. How does that happen? How do they have one home game and 8 away games so
That's
far?
very lopsided.
That's insane. Um, but they're 4-5, and the guy right below them, the Tiger Cats at 4-6, they have actually split their series at home and basically suck away. So they're 4-6, and then I don't think we like have to do much talking about Ottawa. They're 0-9,
Right.
0-5 at home, 0-4 away. They've been bad. They've been just horrible. There's like really, you can't like put it into words how bad they've been some weeks. They really could have had some games that they could have won so far that they just didn't win.
And it looks like, as the season progresses, teams get better playing as a team.
Yeah,
So, but we're not seeing that as much with Ottawa here.
yeah,
Instead of the games getting closer and them having a better chance to win, it looks like the other teams are now beating them even more convincingly every
yeah.
week.
And
So,
like in the first few weeks, Ottawa kept every game close, and now they're losing by like 2 scores a game at least.
yeah, it looks like other teams are distancing themselves even more.
And then in the West, so like this is a 5 team, so it's different than the East if you didn't know. So the West, the Elks are on top. My Elks 7-3. They've lost to the Alouettes, Rough Riders, and the Lions. So they had some bad losses in there, but they definitely had a lot of good wins at 7-3, and they've only had one loss at home. So they've been really good. The Rough Riders right behind them at 6-3. So they're both really close right there. And the Blue Bombers right on their tail as well, 5-4 and 3-0 as an away team, undefeated visiting. That's
Y-
weird.
Yeah, it's a little uncommon to see that.
So I do think they're frauds still. They're just sitting in the middle of the West. Right below them, chasing their tail, are the Lions at 4-5. They've been, really bad to start, and they've been just growing. They've been getting better. Like you said, what should happen with Ottawa, that's what's been happening with the Lions. They've just been consistently getting better and getting
Yes.
these wins, and they're starting to look like a good football team.
Yeah, they're a good example of what happens when you start coming together and building each week on what you've been doing all season.
Yeah, and then closing that off are the Stampeders, who are 4-6, bottom of the West, and they're the only team that scored 50 points in a game, and they did it twice. So I really don't know what's happened. 4-6, and they're in the bottom. It's just they're playing in a tough division, honestly. They really are. And it's sad to see them in the bottom, but I think they're gonna get out of this like little hole, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, I think we'll see more from them. I don't think that they're gonna stay at the bottom of the division. I think they're still gonna compete. They're still gonna find ways to win, and we'll see more, from them as the season progresses.
So I want to see the playoffs. So the top 3 teams from each division make the playoffs, unless there's a crossover. So crossover is like if let's say the fourth West team is better than the third East team, then that West team is now in the East for the
Hmm.
playoffs. And so that's crazy. So we probably will see 2 East teams make the playoffs because I think it's you have to at least have two, like at least have two. So it's who are we thinking for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, there's at least two. I don't know if it's even set up to allow it, but otherwise, you would need the fourth team, or you'd need all five teams, right? Yeah, you'd need all five teams from the West going, and one team in the East if it was six teams, right?
Yeah,
So I think you got to have at least two in the East. I don't. I don't even know if mathematically you could have the fifth team in the West being better. But yeah, so um
I mean, hey, it's been bad.
yeah, I think that the second team, yeah, I think we'll have two from the East.
So I think let's just start it off. So let's say our number one teams in both division. I think we should have the same answer. I have Elks and Alouettes.
Right, yes.
So I do think those guys are better, and I think it's fairly obvious that they're both going to win their division. I mean, the Alouettes are guaranteed. At this point, it's basically guaranteed. Hit the halfway point, no one in the division is good other than them. The Elks, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but I do think they get it done. The other teams, some of them are rising and some of them are falling, but I do think they get it they get it done. They've been a good team. So so we agreed on that. So what are your like I want to say 2 seed. So I'm gonna say for the second best team in the West is gonna be the Rough Riders still.
Okay.
And then in the East, I'm gonna say the Argonauts.
Okay.
I there really isn't anybody out there in the East that stands out to me. None of
Y-
them are gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're gonna see the Argonauts in the East. I think the Tiger Cats is probably more of a fluke or maybe even, you
I
know,
I don't know when Bo Levi Mitchell comes back. So maybe if he comes back a bit before the season ends, maybe they get it done. He makes some miraculous comeback, but I really don't see it.
yeah.
Even if he does come back, this team is pretty much too far gone.
And it might have just been the Rough Riders, overlooking them. Sometimes that happens when you think you have a game in hand. You
Yeah,
you kind of look ahead to what else you have to prepare for. And so if they didn't give, you know, Hamilton the respect they needed, they could have been caught by surprise. But yeah, I don't
yeah.
think that Hamilton can continue to surprise
It,
people.
it really
So
did feel like a fluke a bit. And I was really shocked when I saw it. I was like, "What?"
yeah, I think it's more of that than anything else. So I'm gonna stick with the Argonauts, even if it's every other game, and they continue to be inconsistent. I think they'll still be the second best. In the West, I think it's gonna continue to be a three-team race for quite a while. So I think it's gonna stay pretty interesting. I think that Saskatchewan has the advantage. But they got to go out there and get it done because, the Blue Bombers, they're finding ways to win, even if they're not the most convincing team out there or the most, confidence inspiring. They still have a 5-4 record. And then the Lions, like we've talked about, they're on that win streak. The offense really seems to have come together. I think they've got a good chance that they could leapfrog some people and finish in second place
Yeah,
if they continue to play as they have been. So I think really we're going to see all those teams compete. I don't think Calgary is a bad team, but I just think that,
yeah. The division is tough. I'll say that.
yeah, I think it's tough there. Honestly, I think Rough Riders and Lions compete for second, Blue Bombers and Stampeders compete for fourth and fifth. I kind of think is how it'll
Yeah.
look.
So I said Elks number one in the West, and Alouettes number one in the East, and then Rough Riders second in the West, Argonauts second in the East. So those are locks, in my opinion. Those guys, they all make the playoffs. But then, you're supposed to get three per division. But with the crossover, I think we're gonna see two more West teams make it,
Yeah.
which means we see uh two East teams not make it and one West team. And I think that West team that gets knocked out is Calgary. They were one of the first teams I considered as my favorite team, and I respect them more than a lot of other teams. I have my two favorites, and then I'm fine with Calgary. I don't like any other team. So I do feel bad that they're like this year. It was just not their year, honestly. They might get a few. I think they get a few more wins in here, but I think the division is kind of moved on from them at this point. So I think for that third seed, it's going to be Winnipeg, and then the crossover is BC. So we see Elks, Alouettes, Rough Riders, Argonauts, Blue Bombers, and Lions as the playoffs, with the Tiger Cats, Red Blacks, and Stampeders missing the playoffs. I think I could be wrong, but I really do think that's what's going to happen.
Hmm.
I'm excited for the playoffs. We're here for the midseason. It's heating up. It's going into the NFL season. So even, when our episodes start to dominate with NFL stuff, we'll still be watching CFL. We'll still be talking about CFL. CFL is not forgotten, because trust me, I won't forget it. I'm not forgetting this. And I honestly, I'm liking it more than any NFL stuff going on right now. So we're gonna keep up with that. I mean, this is kind of a just mid-season playoff prediction, but I think that wraps it up for this video, like this episode.
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. Like you said, it was week 11 out of 21 for the Canadian Football League. So
Yeah,
it really is the halfway point, and still a lot of football to be played.
yeah,
Anyone goes on, like a 4-game winning streak or something, all of a sudden flips the whole division on its head. But I think when you've played 9, 10 games, you kind of establish, what kind of team you are, and I think that's what
yeah.
we're basing it off of here.
A lot could
Uh,
happen. There's like 10 more weeks. I mean, not really. I mean, the 12th week's being played right now, but there are 10 more weeks, and a lot can happen in those weeks. But this is a mid-season prediction.
mhm.
So looking at the stuff right now, how everything's been, that's my prediction for the playoffs. Hopefully I'm right, because I don't want to be wrong. But I think that does wrap it up for episode 13 of Week's Golden Report.
All right, yeah, we'll end it here.
Yep.